Hi guys, Tablet-News.com, and I'm here with the Samsung Galaxy Tab 3 10.1. This product was announced at the start of the summer, and this is a 10-inch dual-core tablet. It's part of a series, the Samsung Galaxy Tab 3 series, that includes a 7-inch model, an 8-inch model, and finally this 10-inch unit. The price tag is $399, and now I'm going to talk just a little bit about the design as this mega review gets started. We're dealing with a slate that uses a glossy plastic body. It measures 8mm in thickness. It weighs 510 grams, which makes it a very light tablet, especially for a 10-inch tablet. At the back we got the camera, you can see here, 3-megapixel camera, and there's a dotted texture at the back, just like on the Galaxy S4. At the top we have some very interesting things to show you. First of all, on-off button, volume buttons, microSD card slot with a lid on it. That's reasonably hard to remove and put back. We got the SIM slot here and the infrared emitter right here, so the most important things are placed at the top. And finally on the sides we got a pair of speakers, so speakers here on this side and speakers and audio jack on the other side. Okay, we're done with the sides. At the bottom we have the micro USB port and a microphone hole right here, while at the front we've got the front camera and the ambient light sensor, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, aside from that we got, of course, these buttons here, a home button that will help you distinguish this tablet from basically the whole area of other Android tablets. So home button, physical one, and the capacitive menu and back button that you can see right here. You can also notice that this tablet has rounded corners, especially in this side here, taking a little cue from the Galaxy Note 8.0 that debuted early in the year. I must say that this model is available not only in white as we have it here, but also in a shade of brown that feels a bit like black because it's a darker brown, and this is thinner than the Galaxy Tab 2 10.1, the predecessor. It uses a Harper glaze finish and it's pretty slippery, so if you manhandle it wrong a couple of times you may even end up dropping it because it's slightly slippery, just like the Galaxy S4. The bezel is quite big, especially at the top and bottom, and aesthetically it may feel wrong, but when you use the tablet for gaming or long hours of video playback, you'll see that the big bezel has its advantages since you will not obscure the screen. Okay, I have to say this is not my favorite tablet design, but as far as functionality goes, it works. Now, as far as the specs are concerned, we have here a 10.1-inch TFT LCD screen with a resolution of 1280 over 800 pixels. Inside we have an Intel processor. It's an Intel Atom Z2560 dual core with a 1.6 GHz frequency, and on the GPU side we have a PowerVR SGX 544 MP2, as well as 1 GB of RAM, and at the back we have a 3.15 megapixel camera with wide angle lens, while this device will be available in 16 or 32 gigabytes of storage. Other specs of the device include Wi-Fi dual band, GPS, GLONASS, there's a micro SIM card slot on board, we got LTE support on the device, also stereo speakers with Dolby technology, and the micro SD card slot does up to 64 gigabytes of extra storage. By the way, we also have HSDPA connectivity with a speed of 42 megabits per second. We've got Bluetooth 4.0 and infrared, of course, micro USB 2.0 with USB host, a front 1.2 megapixel camera, accelerometer, and compass. Of course, you'll want me to talk about the battery, and to support the claims I have some screenshots, but let's get to the technology first. We're dealing with a lithium polymer unit, 6800 mAh battery. This one, compared to the Galaxy Tab 2 10.1, it's inferior. That one had a 7000 mAh battery. Now let's see some of the shots available here. Okay, so I must mention that either my device has some problems or this tablet really takes a long while to charge. It took me about 5 or 6 hours to charge the battery to the maximum level. And as far as consumption goes, you get 1 hour of Full HD playback that will take up 15% of your battery life. So in about 6 hours and a half of Full HD video playback, the battery should be done, which is pretty reasonable. You get 1 week of standby time, and we also got a power saving feature if you want to customize your usage. So about 1 week of standby, and about 6 hours and a half of video playback, or about 1 or 2 days of regular use. So I promised you power saving mode. Here it is. The power saving, you activate it. You got CPU power saving, limiting the maximum performance of the CPU, and screen power saving with a low power level for the screen. So that's pretty much it as far as the battery is concerned. There's a slight problem with the battery indicator. Sometimes it will not show the proper charging level, but only sometimes. Okay, now you're going to test the audio quality of the device. This is the music player. If you've ever played with Galaxy S4, you'll feel right at home. The same organization of tunes in songs, playlists, and albums, artists, genres, folders, composers, years, and even this music square that divides the music into moods: passionate, exciting, joyful, or calm, depending on what you like. Okay, now let's pick a tune and actually listen to something. And let's turn up the volume. That, by the way, is a very impressive volume. So as you heard, we have a very good bass, a pretty clear voice. There is no distortion that we can hear at least. Now let's have a look at the options. We have the typical sharing options and a bunch of settings. So we have the sound alive options with your equalizer, auto, normal, pop, rock, dance, jazz, even virtual 7.1, and a custom area with various equalizer settings, and even an extended equalizer for audio files, 3D bass, reverb level, or whatever you want to set up in your audio experience. We have adapt sound here that will allow you to tweak your experience and customize your headphone experience. You can customize your play speed. Smart volume will adjust each track volume to an equal level compared to the predecessor. So this tablet is very loud, as you heard previously. We also have some lyric options, very loud volume. This and the Nexus 10 have got to be the loudest tablets I ever tested, and this is a compliment especially for this tablet since its price is pretty low and the volume is pretty high. I must also mention that the audio player on this device supports FLAC files, WAV files, and you can even view your music player in the lock screen. Overall, we have an excellent audio experience on this tablet, and as I said, I am very impressed especially by the audio volume of the device. Now let's turn down the sound just a little bit and let's check out the screen and talk a bit about the video aspect. This is the video player area. No, this is the video hub, so let's actually go to the video player this time. Okay, so what we're dealing with here is a collection of moving thumbnails of the clips. Let's check out this one, Despicable Me 2.
We are the Anti-Villain League, dedicated to fighting.
As you can see, we got vivid colors. We also have pop-up play with a bit of a lag. As you can see, quite a bit of a lag. Still waiting for it to appear. Moving it on the screen, performing our other activities while the video keeps going on. There are 3 crop modes available in this video player, so you can better fit your video to the screen. There's also a Dolby setting that you can set off, set on movie mode, music mode, or voice mode. depending on your needs. In the settings area, you will find a bunch of interesting stuff to play with, like capture, play speed, subtitles, and the option to tag body. This player supports XVID, DivX, MP4, MKV, Full HD videos with AC3 audio, so pretty much all the modern standards formats and codecs are supported on this device. This is a 1280 over 800 pixel display, diagonal of 10.1 inches. It's a TFT LCD, which is a bit of a disappointment since I was expecting a Super AMOLED panel here. This panel suffers from a bit of glare in sunlight. And now I'm going to go to the settings area and show you some of the display options, since I keep talking about the display. So display, we got screen mode. Just like on the Galaxy S4, you have the dynamic, standard or movie. You can see here the changes. The movie one is the one with the realistic colors. The others tend to feel a bit oversaturated. Okay, other features, let's go back to the screen area. We also have an option called Smart Screen. This one activates Smart Stay, that keeps the screen on as long as you're looking at it, and Smart Rotation, with the screen rotating according to the orientation of your face, as you can see in this diagram here. And other stuff worth mentioning is that the viewing angles in the video player that you saw earlier are quite okay, and if you don't believe me, let's check it out. Okay, so video player yet again, playing the video, checking out the viewing angles. As I said, they're okay. They're not fantastic, and with that glare they may seem even less impressive, but they're reasonable. Okay, we have good colors. Once you get rid of oversaturation with the settings, the screen has a 149 ppi density, 16:10 aspect ratio, and the blacks aren't very dark, but the whites are very, very bright. And in order to prove that, we used the microscope, checked out the screen, and let's see what came out. This is what the screen of the device looks like on a microscope, on white and on black. So these are RGB stripe pixels, and the brightness is 360 to 400 lux units on maximum white level. Keep in mind that this is not a uniform setting. In parts of the screen is 360, parts of the screen is 400 lux, but that's a pretty impressive performance as far as brightness goes. By the way, this is the maximum brightness. What you saw till now was 50% brightness, and this is the maximum one, but I'm going to tone it down for the sake of the review. Now, as far as the camera goes, we're dealing with a 3 megapixel camera, and this is the interface, and we got this castle right here that we're going to take a shot of. Don't expect impressive quality here. After all, we're dealing with a 10-inch tablet and a 3 megapixel camera without touch focus, as you can see. But as usual, the options are pretty varied. So we got single shot, panorama, body, photo, share and smile shot, plus a timer, a bunch of effects to play with, including sepia, negative and black and white, some exposure values to tweak, and then the settings area that includes GPS tagging, self-portrait, those options again, the effects I mentioned, scene modes, a lot of them actually, pretty impressive, and resolution, as you can see, 2048 over 1536 pixels, white balance options, metering, some guidelines, contextual file name, take photos using voice and image quality, choose between superfine, fine and normal, and this is the picture I've taken earlier. As you can see, pretty grainy, pretty blurry, but it's an indoor shot, and this camera lacks flash. So once again, 3 megapixel camera, you can tweak the exposure, white balance, and the video is captured in 720p. Some settings right here. This is it, 720p video capture. This is a camera that doesn't want to be the best on the market. It's just present to matter between the specs. What I can say is that the pictures taken indoors are quite noisy, but outdoors are pretty okay. If you want to do some video capture, you'll know that the file resulting from that capture is an MP4 with a bitrate of 12 mega per second and stereo audio with a bitrate of 128 kilobytes per second. We got continuous autofocus when filming, and of course you probably won't use a 10-inch tablet to take pictures or videos. I'm guessing that much. Okay, now let's check out the browser. So this is the web browser of the tablet. By the way, this is the input method, as you can see, with a numeric row on top. And now let's access Tablet News and see how fast it can load. Okay, Tablet-News.com is here. Loading reasonably fast. Scrolling easily, pinch to zoom. As you can see, the image is not as crisp as on a tablet with a superior resolution, but I guess that this resolution will have to do. Once again, aside from the numeric row here, you have several other modes of input. We got voice input, you have handwriting, tablet or something close to it. My handwriting is bad, don't count on it. And once again, voice input, voice input. At least it understood voice. And then you can go back to regular input and do some more setup. You can split the keyboard into two if you want. It all depends on your preferences when it comes to typing and what you're used to. Okay, so this is it when it comes to the input on this slate and the browser. I'm pretty happy with the experience of both the web browsing and the input on the slate. Now, as far as the gaming goes, we did a bit of gaming on this slate and we achieved a temperature of 43.2 degrees Celsius, which is a bit high even for a tablet with a plastic back. Now it's that time of the review again where we compare benchmarks, but before that let me show you what we're dealing with here in terms of software. So this is Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean, and I'm going to resort to the gallery to give you a rundown of the benchmarks performed on the tablet. I have decided to compare this tablet with the Asus MemoPad FHD10 because they share the same Intel Atom Z2560 processor, and I also include in the comparison the Nexus 10. Okay, so in quadrant we scored 4,763 points. We got beaten by the Asus MemoPad FHD10 by about 900 points, but we beat the Nexus 10 by 200 points. Moving further, we got Antutu and a score of 20,000 points. We beat the Asus MemoPad and it's 17,000 points. We also beat the Nexus 10 and it's 13,000 points. All of these three are dual-core tablets. The Nexus 10 uses an Exynos processor while the other two use Intel processors. In Nanomark, we seem to have a pretty good GPU, 60 frames per second. By the way, this GPU is better than the one of the Asus, slightly better. And the Asus tablet scored 58 frames per second, while the Nexus 10 55 frames per second. In Velamo, 1719 points, very close to the Asus MemoPad FHD10 with its 1795 points, but below the Nexus 10 and its 1800 points. Next up, 3D Mark, very impressive score, 6101 points. We beat the Asus by 400 points, got beaten by the Nexus 10 by 2000 points, very impressive. The browser shows a pretty nice experience in Browser Mark 2.0, 2463 points, got beaten narrowly by the Asus MemoPad FHD10 by just 100 points or even less. Keep in mind that the price of the Asus tablet is slightly lower. Okay, so I must mention that there is a slight lag that appears sometimes in the menus and in the game Dungeon Hunter 4 that you can see here. That lag was not present on other devices and it's basically bad news if you're a stickler for good performance. Now in the settings area we have a mode called blocking mode that you can use just like the similar feature on Apple devices. You can turn off incoming calls, turn off notifications, set a certain time to do that. Basically it's the do not disturb mode that reminds me of Apple. We also have a special driving mode, so if you're behind the wheel and using the tablet, we have an incoming call mode, message mode, alarm. They read out loud the alarm information, schedules and stuff like that when you're behind the wheel. There's also voice control with a variety of features to play with. You can answer or reject calls using the voice command. You can stop or snooze the alarm with voice commands, or you can control the music player by saying next, previous, play, pause, volume down, or you can take pictures by saying cheese in the camera area. Now let's talk a bit about the phone feature. This 10-inch tablet can be used as a phone. This is the dialer and it comes with smart dial. It has good call quality, good signal. This is a list of contacts. And this is how you dial when you want to call other people. As I said, good signal and good call quality. So continuing the list of features of this device, if you keep the home button pressed, you'll see a multitasking area, but there are no apps open, so I'm just going to open a few of them just to have some of them running in the background. Okay, so As I said, keep the home button pressed. You're going to be doing some multitasking. You can press close all, or you can resort to a task manager. Here you can end your apps, see a downloaded list, and tweak your RAM. You can free your RAM. More often than not, you'll see it being totally reserved to some apps, and frankly speaking, I would have liked 2 gigs instead of 1 gig on this device. Okay, if you do a double tap on the home button, you'll trigger the S voice. A variety of commands here. You can see them like look up James, send mom a card, play playlist my favorites, navigate to Cambridge, read the news, turn Wi-Fi on. Those are just some examples of the stuff you can do with S voice. If you keep the menu pressed, you will trigger Google Now, and you can learn the Yankees score or the weather or taxis nearby, for example. Then we move on to the notification area, where you can find the toggles for all the features you need, and you can even edit them. So you can set the quick setting buttons here. There are available buttons that you can add to that list, and like they include sync and airplane mode, but as I said, this area includes the most important toggles for Wi-Fi, GPS, sound, screen rotation, Bluetooth, mobile data, blocking mode, and this area for the brightness, plus of course the notifications. Okay, moving even further, we're going to have a short look through the widgets. Those are the classic Samsung widgets that they include on their tablets, and you can see some of them here. One for video, one for the music, video hub, game hub, and widget for flipboard, one for pictures, and that's pretty much it that we have included on this device. Now I'm going to move into that section of the review that I like to call the list of apps bundled with the Galaxy Tab 3 10.1. Of course, you probably suspect that you get flipboard for your social networking needs and news reading needs from areas like technology, news, music, science. You can integrate your Twitter and Facebook account here easily. Aside from flipboard, we have bundled the Dropbox here. You can see it right here. There is a game hub that, frankly speaking, I find to be useless, since it basically links you towards the Google Play Store or the Samsung App Store. It just focuses on the premium games that you can download. We got maps, we got GPS after all, so why not use the tablet as a GPS device, navigate around, search for stuff, see traffic info, public transport, bicycling, or simply learn how to get around in an area. Okay, moving even further, we find an app called Memo. It's not S Memo, it's just Memo for regular typing, without those extra features for the S Memo app. Then we find another useless app. It's called Music Hub. It's supposed to be sort of like the iTunes from Samsung, only that in my area it doesn't work. We also have Group Play, allowing you to connect to the Galaxy S4 and other compatible devices. Then we got Paper Artist, an app that was made famous by the Galaxy Note, if I'm not mistaken. Basically, what you can do is add several effects to a picture. You can select one from your gallery and tweak it like this, or you can take a picture in real time and apply those effects. As you can see, it loads with just a little bit of lag, but you can have fun with all of these effects and even more. Basically, you can do a crazy sketch with a ton of effects. So that was pretty much Paper Artist. For our productivity needs, we have Polaris Office right here, and then we got Readers Hub that luckily works. The Game Hub was useless, the Music Hub didn't work, but the Readers Hub includes a store with nifty books to get, pretty well organized, some free books here, and this is how e-reading is done on this 10-inch tablet. And some of the options available here. You see background color, some text options, and of course you can look stuff up. And that was the e-reading option on this slate. Okay, now moving even further, we'll find the S Planner, an app that you already know from other devices. You can see what happens today, You can see a big calendar for certain accounts like a Google account, organization by week, day, list, task, month or year. Okay, DS planner is done. We move further to the store, Samsungapps. Once again, not very exciting stuff here. I didn't find any exciting app or game. There are some exclusives, although I have yet to find them and I'm not a big fan of this UI. Okay, now there is another feature that I find to be useful. It's Smart Remote. It's an application that, if I'm not mistaken, was present on the Sony Xperia Tablet S. As you can see, you can control a TV set, turn it on, change the channel, turn it to mute, and do some various other stuff. You can also control other devices. You can add a favorite channel, a custom button. You can control Blu-ray players and a variety of other gizmos. We also got Video Hub, yet another hub from Samsung that once again will not work in my area. Then we got an app called Story Album. Should be here somewhere. Okay, here it is. You can create a collage of photos. Select pictures from your gallery. Arrange them in a photo album with a certain theme and a cover image, and you're all set. That's the Story Album. Finally, we've got the Learning Hub, and guess what? It does not work in my area. So certain areas of Europe will not support Music Hub, will not support Learning Hub, and that's a bit of a problem. And also Video Hub is not supported. Okay, we've reached the final area of the review where we list the pros and cons for buying or not buying the Samsung Galaxy Tab 3 10.1. The pros are obviously the audio, huge volume from these side speakers. Then the display is actually pretty good in spite of the lower resolution. It may not be a Full HD screen, but it has excellent brightness, good viewing angles, and I'm pretty happy with it, although I would have liked a bigger resolution. The phone calling ability is a plus. We put it in the Pro section. The battery is decent, so you can get to 1 day of moderate use. The TV remote feature is also good, and the fact that the tablet is light is also a plus. We have a lot more cons than pros here, one of them being the lag in games like Dungeon Hunter 4 or simply in the interface of the device. The camera has no flash, has no touch focus, has a low resolution. The battery indicator tends to have some problems, jumping from 50% to 100% when charging, tricking you that the tablet is charged when it's not. Other defects is the design. It's pretty slippery, it's not very sexy. We have this antiquated physical home button that feels like 2 years ago, if you ask me. And let's see, other features, other negative features. We have useless apps and services called hubs, a lot of bloatware, 1 gig of RAM that isn't up to the task of facing all the apps and services, and the price tag is a bit higher than the one of the Asus MemoPad FHD 10, a rival for this product in the same segment. So let's give some grades. For design, we give the Galaxy Tab 3 10.1 a 7, for hardware an 8, and for operating system and user interface it's also an 8, but here it loses points for the bloatware. It could have been a 10, could have been a 9, but it's an 8. Overall, we give this device a 7.66 out of 10, and sadly I cannot recommend you to buy this slate because it has more cons than it has pros. So that's it, Tablet-News.com. This is the Galaxy Tab 3 10.1. Bye bye.